Hello, gorgeous entrepreneur. It's Tash Corbin here, and welcome to another episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. This is episode number 323, which means you can find all the relevant links and show notes for today's episode over at tashcorbin.com/323. Today's episode is a Spotlight Series episode, which means you get to hear my interview with one of the most amazing entrepreneurs I have ever had the pleasure of working with as both a mentor and as a client. It is the amazing Kerri Miller, and she is a Feng Shui specialist. Now, the thing that I wanted to talk to Kerri about was the alignment between what we do energetically internally and what we do energetically externally in our environment to maximize business success and growth, and all the other factors in why we want to have a business in the first place. So this is a really juicy conversation about how your environment and the spaces around you are really an untapped resource of energy and success and results that we can tap into simply by being intentional about our environment. So it's a really juicy conversation. If you are really looking for that next level of how you can up level the results in your business, the way that you operate in your business, the lifestyle that you are building, your home is basically a giant vision board of what it is that you want to create. And Feng Shui is a great way to get intentional about what that is. So let's dive in. All the show notes and links to Kerri are at tashcorbin.com/323. And I hope that you enjoy this Spotlight Series interview. I'm Tash Corbin, and this is the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special Spotlight Series episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. I'm joined today by the amazing Kerri Miller. Hello, Kerri.
Hi, Tash. Thanks for having me here today.
No problem at all. I had to get you on the podcast because I have loved some of the conversations that you've been having on your social media recently and in your webinar about working on the energetics around yourself and around your business, not just internally, right? We work on our mindset and our energy, but also in the environment that you create and that you build your business in. And your specialization is Feng Shui. So of course, this is going to be a really juicy conversation for us to have today. But I really wanted us to dive into that whole like setting up the right environment for business success. So that's what we're going to dive into today, which I'm very excited about.
Very excited.
Yes. Do you want to just quickly introduce yourself and let everyone know a bit about your business?
Sure. I'm Kerri. I'm a Feng Shui and energy clearing practitioner. I really am passionate about showing especially heart-centered entrepreneurs how to set up their surroundings so that they're supporting their goals and what they want to accomplish at work, keeping them high vibe. And I really feel like this is an untapped resource. There's energy all around us that we can really tap into to create ease and prosperity. So
brilliant.
Enough to talk about.
Oh, and it's such a cool conversation for us to have. First of all, I'd love to know, how did you get into Feng Shui? Why was this something that you decided you wanted to start a business out of?
Yeah, well, it was a long road to get where I am now, but I actually, a while ago, about 20 years ago, I had bought a condo in Boston and was decorating. So I was decorating, but I was also on this path of self-discovery and looking to create better things in my life. And I stumbled across a book on Feng Shui. And so I was like, oh, I can decorate intentionally to create what I want. And it was really powerful. And I read the book and applied what I learned and changed so much in my life. So that was super powerful. But then, a few years passed before I actually got into deciding that I wanted to do this as a profession. But I just love it. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. So I know that, in the circles that I'm in, entrepreneurs and business owners in particular, we invest a significant amount of our time and our money and our energy in working on our mindset. We know that the energy that we bring to our business is so powerful and that it has such an impact, a direct impact on the results that we achieve in our business. And I am fascinated to hear how the energy of our environment actually can contribute to that. And as you say, be an untapped resource. So do you want to start by giving us just a little bit of a summary of how that aligns with what we do from a mindset and energy perspective on the inside?
Sure. I mean, we're doing all this energy work, whether it's tapping or meditating or, even going for a walk to just reset our energy and keep our frequency high so that we can attract good things.
Yeah.
But if you're sitting in kind of crappy energy, you're going to be fighting against it at all times. So if we can align that inner work with the energy of our surroundings, it can be a really powerful shift.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I did the outer work for many years just with Feng Shui, and I got some good results. But when I aligned and started doing the inner work as well and aligned the two things together, it was like leapfrogging over, what I wanted to accomplish. So it's really powerful.
Yeah, gorgeous. So entrepreneur, setting up, working from home most of the time, what would you say are some of the big untapped energy resources that we're missing out on, or some of the mistakes that people make when they're running their business from home energy-wise?
Yeah, I think that, especially in the last couple of years when people ended up at home very suddenly, or a lot of people ended up at home very suddenly, we kind of shoeboxed ourselves into a space. But really, you have to take a look at whether or not the space that you're in and the foundation that you're giving yourself to work in is supporting the growth that you want to create in your business. And it's a real energetic thing. Like if you're sitting in a real small space, kind of cramped in, and you have, piles of work from each of your clients in the way, you're sending out a message to the universe that I can't take on anymore. So it's really conflicting. Whereas if you can shift things and give yourself room to work and room to grow, you're sending a different message to the universe, and the universe responds with more of what you're looking for. So it's really, really powerful. I think that's the number one thing, is giving yourself enough space, and then really giving yourself permission to make that space high vibe and supportive, and make sure that you're set up in the best position within the room so that you're receiving beneficial energy instead of kind of being bombarded by the energies in a harsh way.
I love it. So I loved what you were just saying there about setting up like your position in the room. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Like, what is the best position to be sitting at when you're setting up an office?
Yeah, definitely. So in Feng Shui, we have a little concept that we call the command position, which means that you're set up with a solid wall behind you, a desk in front of you. You can see the whole room in front of you, and you can see the entrance to the door or the entrance to the room. Yep. And it's powerful because it puts you in a position where you feel supported, and you can see. It's like you're watching over your whole domain, and you feel really empowered by it. But it also puts you in a powerful spot where the energy, you're receiving the energy is coming in and you can grab it. Whereas if you have your back to the wall, it's kind of hitting you in the back all day long, and almost putting you in a more vulnerable energy and weakening you to some degree. So there are simple adjustments you can make to the way you sit in your space to allow energy to do a lot of the work for you and to energize you more throughout the day.
Yeah, fabulous, fabulous. And I understand you've got a freebie that people can get if they want on how to set up the command position.
I do, yes. Yeah. And it talks about how to set yourself up. It gives you some good examples. It tells you why it's important and how it will help you, and also some alternatives if you're in a smaller space.
Brilliant, brilliant. So if you would like to grab that freebie of Kerri's, we'll pop a link to that in the show notes so that you can at least get one of the most powerful pieces of the puzzle in place of, setting yourself up in the right space. Now, Kerri, my experience, I've had like a lot of different experiences with Feng Shui over the years. And one of my experiences with Feng Shui can sometimes be like, I feel like the space isn't necessarily set up functionally it's set up energetically. I'd love to know from you, like, is there a balancing act that you try to aim for, or, you know, what do you see as some of the key big principles we should look out for when we're organizing our space?
Yeah. So I think number one is making sure that your space, you know, the things that you have surrounded yourself with are all useful and helping you move towards your goal. And they're not blocking the way. We want energy to be able to flow and move. And so if you have a lot of clutter or a lot of things in your space that are slowing the energy flow down or distracting you, it's really slowing your process down.
Yeah.
And so number one, you know, make sure that what you have around you is really helping you. And then I would say your arrangement is important. And then also just the decoration around your space, make sure that it's, you know, reminding you of the potential and where you're going, you know, rather than just being neutral. You know, just your space should really energize and inspire you and help keep you focused and make you feel good about what you're doing. So keep you on track.
I love it. I love it. Oh, another good question, I get this quite a bit, is what if people don't even have a dedicated space? Like they are working at the kitchen table, or they're working in the kids' bedroom when the kids are at school, or those sorts of things.
Yeah, so I think that that's really a common thing these days. And I think that it takes a lot more like personal energetic boundary setting in those cases.
Yeah.
And it is going to take a little more effort because a lot of times you'll have to set up and break down, but just really thinking through, like, how can you make it efficient so that you can do that set up and break down and find your spot and get started working again the next day. But also, even if you're not in an office with a door, you can still find a way to set yourself up so that you have a commanding view and so that nobody can sneak up on you. You know, I did a call the other day with somebody who was in their office, and they had their back to the door. And in the middle of the call, their daughter came in and surprised them in the middle of the call. So like, it's unsettling, but you can still maneuver yourself so that you're at least able to get a little side view and not be surprised by things sneaking up on you.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And is there, like, I know that some people get really excited about purchasing a certain plant or a certain crystal or anything along those lines. Do you have any like favorite things that people can have to particularly bring in money in a business or be aligned with your goals for business growth?
Yeah, definitely. I love to think in terms of flowing money. We want money to flow in our direction.
Yes.
So I love water fountains for that, or other types of water features, or even pictures of water, like a waterfall, are really powerful to just encourage that energy of money's flowing towards us.
Amazing.
And then I love also plants are really great. If you think about, plants are growing and they're expanding, and that's what we want to do with our bank accounts.
Yep.
So if you place a plant in your office and just kind of set that intention is, you know, this plant is going to grow and expand, and my business and my, you know, bank account is also going to grow and expand.
I love
That's
it.
really powerful. And I have like a pile of crystals right here. I love crystals because they're easy to move around, and crystals have a different energy about them. And there are some that are really well known for their money protection and money manifesting properties. So those are all great options.
Fabulous, fabulous. And then my other question I had was, you know, some people are like, well, my office is my office. Like, it seems to be doing it. Like, I'm quite happy with the way that it's set up. What would be some signs that people might be experiencing, or things that were going on where you would say, or I reckon there's an energetic block here, or, oh, I think maybe we could feng shui some things? Like, what would be some like signs or symptoms that maybe the energy isn't necessarily set up well?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say, if things stop flowing for some reason, like all of a sudden ideas aren't coming easily, money's not coming easily, it feels like something's blocked or something's stuck, that's a sure sign that there's something to look at. If you're feeling anxious while you're working, or if you're exhausted at the end of the day, that's another thing to look at, because the way the energy is affecting you is something to pay attention to. if you are just always worried about, money's coming in, but then it's going out just as fast, that's something that's really, there's some place where energy is leaking away, and we want to shore that up.
Yes.
And help hold it longer.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. And one that you helped me with was I could sit and do certain things at my desk. Like I'm happy to sit at my desk and do day-to-day stuff and writing and calls, but I feel like I can't do a certain type of work at my desk. Like it's not set up for that energy. So that was a really cool one that I loved you helped me with too.
Yeah, I think that it's really good to have almost like a consistent energy about going into your office and sitting at your desk. But there are activities that we do as entrepreneurs where we want to be a little bit more flexible. We want to be a little bit more creative. And sometimes it's really even more powerful to take yourself out of that consistent energy and move to a spot that feels, a little more fun, a little more light, and a little more flexible. And so that can really generate the ideas and spark some new flow.
Yeah. Something that I loved doing when I was in New Zealand, and I'm getting back to in the second half of this year, is going away on solo retreats, because I loved going into a different space with a different energy to do pre-recording podcast episodes. And I often did like a lot of strategic planning or recording of my courses and that kind of thing. And it was taking it out into a different space and just set up a different energy as well. So, and one thing that I did, actually, there was a house that I went and rented, and it was a really lovely house, but it had two big, weird dried plant arrangements in the living space, and they just looked like dead sticks to me, right? I was like, yep, I don't like these dead sticks. So I literally just took them and put them in one of the bedrooms and just shut the door. And I was like, I don't want the energy of the dead sticks around me. So I think for me, one of the things that has happened since getting to know what you do and following your work is I pay more attention to how things around me feel and how things make me feel. So, one of the things I said to someone who was a bit of a Feng Shui non-believer was I said that even if you don't believe that there's this certain energy force or whatever it might be, being in a space that feels better to you or feels more creative or feels more spacious, that feeling inside you that the environment creates is worth it, isn't it? Even if you don't believe that it's the power of Feng Shui, being intentional about the way that you set up the space is enough, because it sets up that mindset of, I'm creating a space that attracts money. I'm making changes to hold on to more money or stop it flowing out as quickly. So I love that, even just the process of connecting with Feng Shui and being mindful about the energy of the spaces that I'm in has made me better at recognizing how spaces make me feel. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think, you're paying attention to what's around you. And I think many of us walk through like zombies through our day and don't really pay attention to what is making us feel a certain way. So we might be exhausted at the end of the day, but we don't know why. And it actually could be because of the way you're positioned. It could be because you don't have a supportive chair and your back is working extra hard, to stay supported. But it's really powerful. We have so much potential with just paying attention to our surroundings. Energy flows where attention goes. So if we're taking a moment to put our attention on making a space for working really efficiently, that's kind of setting up the stage for the work that we're going to do for the day. It's telling the universe, we mean business. We're going to get something done. And it makes the space for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that really cycles back to how we started this conversation. And that is, if we are spending time and energy and money investing in the energy internally, why not dedicate some of that time and space to actually considering, is the environment we're in conducive to the goals that we want to achieve and conducive to where we want to be focusing? One of the things that I love about Feng Shui is, with the Bagua map and looking at the different spaces in the home, it actually, for me, it reminds me to get clear on what I want, not just focused in like one area. So, you know, for when I first decided to get my first space feng shui, I was like, I want it to be good for money. But then there's like, well, what about this section? This is about helpful people. It was like, oh, I didn't even think about like wanting to have a really strong team behind me or have that support, you know, behind the scenes in my business. Wow. Like for me, it's a looking at the energy from such a multifaceted perspective that it helps you to even just get clear on what you want, you know,
so
instead
true.
of just focusing on, well, I don't want to feel like I'm doing this on my own anymore. I was able to be intentional about, well, what kind of supportive and helpful people do I want in my world? And how can I create some kind of energetic welcome to those helpful people? Yeah.
It's really true. I can remember when I first started using feng shui and I looked at the Bagua map and the different life areas that it looked at, and realized I never, like everybody always says, what do you want to be when you grow up? But this broke it down into, what do you want for a relationship? How healthy do you want to be? How creative do you want to be? And I was like, oh, like it really, when you break it down that way, you can really be intentional about your space. And it's so, they all interconnect, you know, like you said, if you wanted to focus on wealth, you can be, the reason why you're not receiving wealth might be because you're not able to receive help from people. Like that could be the block. The block could be in a whole nother area. So it really is important to look at the big picture and figure it all out. And it goes into that internal stuff too. You know, if you're not able to receive, then you can't receive the abundance either. That can be an internal thing that's also reflected in your environment.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for this, Kerri. This has been super helpful. Just a quick reminder to everyone listening along, if you want to grab Kerri's freebie on setting up your office in the command position or setting up the command position, please do come and check that out at the show notes. And Kerri, one of the things I like to do at the end of Spotlight interviews is to ask, if I was to quote you on your area of expertise, what is it that you would like me to say?
Well, I just think that your space is a really powerful support mechanism for you, and you can tap into it at any time. Like you can plug in to the energy of your surroundings. And it's a really great opportunity to energize yourself and call energy into your business and call money in your direction. So that's what I would say.
Gorgeous. I think that's so perfect. Thank you so much for joining me in the Spotlight series. Thank you everyone for listening along. Make sure you head and check out those show notes. I'll make sure we also have all the links to Kerri so you can follow her on socials. And until next time, we cannot wait to see you shine. Bye for now. Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.